You wanted the best. You've got the best podcast. The hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. The CEOs, authors, thought leaders, visionaries, and motivators. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
Hi, folks. Chris Voss here from the ChrisVossShow.com, the ChrisVossShow.com. Welcome to the big show, my family and friends. The Chris Voss Show family, the family you're always a part of. You're never alone with the Chris Voss Show, mainly because we're putting out 15 years of content. In a few more days here, it'll be 15 years. 2 to 3 episodes a day, 10 to 15 a week. I can't feel my legs, people. So if you don't feel alone, or if you do feel alone, there's plenty of people to hang out with on the show. We always have the greatest gifts as well. As always, help the show out, please. We don't charge for the show, so you can listen to it for free wherever fine podcasts are held, or some are not. I don't know. I've seen those, and you can always access the show for free. So give us a hand there, eh? Go to I don't know why I went all Canadian with the AA. But give us a hand. Go to iTunes, give us a 5-star review over there. Refer the show to your family, friends, and relatives. Put your arm around them and said, I care about you, and I want you to be smarter because I've seen you lately. Go to youtube.com/Chris Voss, linkedin.com/Chris Voss. Subscribe to the LinkedIn newsletter. TikTok, Chris Voss 1 is the newest thing that we're doing, and all that good stuff. Today we have an amazing young lady on the show, and she is a brilliant mind. And not only does she have a brilliant mind, she has a resume and pedigree to back it up. So we're going to learn a lot from her and what goes in the show. So if you don't learn something from this damn show, go back and listen to it twice and just keep listening, because I know it's going to be a good show. Whitney Prude joins us on the show with us today. She is, I believe, the owner and founder of Whole and Happy Living, and her company on what she does and how she does it. She is a practicing board certified clinical pharmacist, as well as a Mayo Clinic certified wellness coach and nationally certified health and fitness coach. She is also certified in medication therapy management. Maybe she can refill my prescription for methadone and lithium. Or no, wait. Yeah? Is that what bipolar? I don't know. I'm just making up stuff at this point. So there you go. But she's probably not going to do that. So that's just a joke, people. Get over it. So anyway, she has been working in part-time as an inpatient clinical pharmacist at Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota, where she's been for 7 years. She's also a public speaker, an entrepreneur, and CEO of the aforementioned Whole and Happy Living, where she helps individuals truly transform their health from the inside out, while also losing weight in a way that can be maintained long term. Welcome to the show, Whitney. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me.
There you go. You got a lot of certifications there in your dealio there, man. You might be too smart for the show.
Oh gosh, there's no way.
You fit right in. We've got a lot of brilliant people on the show, and none of them are me. So, Whitney, give us your .com so we can find you on the interwebs.
My Whole and Happy Life.
Your wholeandhappylife.com?
Yep.
There you go. And there you can find all the wonderful things that she does. So give us a 30,000 overview in your words, Whitney, about who you are and what you do.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, my bio speaks well to who I am, what I do as a pharmacist. My dream was always to become a pharmacist. Since I was in high school, that was, I was very dedicated in becoming a pharmacist, and had some health issues, some life changes that really kind of made me switch directions. So I never intended on owning a business. I never intended to be a health coach. And things kind of took a shift, and I feel like I ended up right where I'm supposed to be. So it's been a pretty cool journey for me.
There you go. Now, Mayo Clinic, they're the guys who make the mayonnaise, right?
Something like that.
Is that how it works? They originated the mayonnaise?
Mm-hmm.
We were joking before the show. Anytime I see Mayo Clinic, I'm like, I should buy some mayo. That sounds good. But one of my favorite things is the Mexican corn elote, where you take the corn and cover it in mayo sauce. Oh, boy. And then Parmesan cheese. Anyway, I digress. So give us a bit of a hero's journey on your story. What made you get into medicine? What made you get into health and all these things?
Yeah, hero's journey. If we get, I mean, usually when I start out telling my story, I go back actually to when I was a teenager, and it's kind of where it all started for me. It was when I was 16. I always ask people if they've had their life turn out exactly how they thought that it would, and usually we don't, right? Because challenges come up, things come up, and things happen in life that we don't ever expect. And so when I was a teenager, my parents went through a divorce, and for me, it was devastating, right? It was my whole life, everything I knew. And I was a teenager, like a really challenging time of life. And essentially, I didn't know how to deal with it. Nobody teaches us how to deal deal with those types of things, the emotions, how to do it in a healthy way, at least. So what I did was I had already decided at that point I wanted to be a pharmacist. So I took all of my pain, my hurt, my sadness, whatever, and I buried it in busyness. And just became hyper focused on becoming a pharmacist.
There you go. Some people go into drugs when they're depressed. You really went into drugs, but the good way.
I know. I did. I went into drugs, and thankfully, right? It's like that was the choice that I took at that time of life, because I could have taken a lot of other avenues that wouldn't have turned out quite so well.
Yeah, you could have been a Colombian drug runner from to Miami or something for cocaine. But It's good that you're in the field you're in, because it's legal,
It is. Right. I try to keep it that way.
There you go. That's always good.
Yeah.
So you've accomplished a lot of different things here going on. I mean, the Mayo Clinic and lots of great certifications. You've worked really hard to build a good resume and a good sort of experience. What led you into being an entrepreneur?
So when I was, let's say 9 months into my first job as a pharmacist. So I did a residency. I went to New Mexico, did a residency at the University Hospital in Albuquerque. And then my first job was at the Mayo Clinic. And that was fantastic, right? I was like, wow, I'm lucky. So I started my first job at the Mayo Clinic, and within 9 months, I actually ended up with a wrist injury. So it was in both of my wrists from using the computer, doing like manipulations with like packaging medications and that type of thing to send it up into the hospital for all of the inpatients. And what happened, like I thought in my head, I was like, okay, so, I was like, I'll just let them rest for a couple weeks. Everything will be fine. They'll heal back to normal. And that didn't end up being my story. So what happened was about 2 months from that time, I ended up incredibly sick. I was nearly bedridden, super fatigued, in an incredible amount of pain. And I ended up with an autoimmune disease.
Oh, wow.
So at that point, I had a lot of restrictions at my work. I couldn't use the computer anymore. I went from, being able to work 9 shifts to being able to work 1. And, in the back of my mind, I was like, well, I have $200,000 of student loan debt hanging over my head, and my wheels are spinning of like, if I can't do my job, like what happens?
Yeah.
So that started my journey.
So you started your own company then at that point?
Yeah. So I had always, for whatever reason, I had always had this dream of actually becoming a public speaker. I don't know where it came from. I always wanted to. And so when I started thinking like, what would be the next thing, if I couldn't do pharmacy, what would I do? And I actually thought, okay, so it would be public speaking. So I started going that route. And then over the course of, working on public speaking and that sort of thing, I was like, well, I need something to go with speaking, right? And a lot of times speakers are coaches. They write a book. They, do a lot of those types of things. And so that's kind of how I ran into health coaching. And it was kind of cool because at that point, I mean, I was spending hours, days, weeks in bed, months even in bed, and I was just miserable, and so I decided at that point, it was like my pain really does me no good unless I can transform it into something that is. And so I really started thinking, like, what can I put together that can help other people avoid, the pitfalls that I ran into with my health.
There you go. And what sort of coaching and assistance do you give to people usually? What are your main standouts that you help people with?
My main focus, the thing that sets me apart, because there's like, okay, if you go into the weight loss industry, diet industry, whatever you want to call it, there's thousands, millions, whatever, of people or products or whatever that can help you in terms of weight loss or improving your health. What I do in particular that really sets me apart is I'm very passionate about helping people get long-term results. Now, when I talk about long-term results, what I mean is that the majority of people, when they want to lose weight or they want to improve their health, they'll focus on, okay, I need to change my eating and I need to start exercising. But the stance that I take is every single decision that you make and all of your actions are driven internally from your mental state, your emotions. And so all of this, like your physical weight, the weight that you have on, your current status of your health, usually stems from whatever else is going on inside of you.
Yeah.
So what I do is I really help people dig into the why. Like, why did I get here in the first place? What are the mental and emotional barriers that are keeping me stuck, that have caused me to gain all of this weight, that have caused me to be unhealthy? How do we unfold those things, discover them, overcome them, process them, work through them, so that then as you are losing weight and changing your physical health, you can actually maintain those results because the mental and emotional barriers are actually out of your way.
There you go. And you have what's called a 5-step power plan to whole health transformation. You want to tease a little bit of that out to us?
Yeah, so that was when I initially put my program together. I mean, I didn't want a weight loss program, even though really, like, that's what brings people to my program. But the 5-step power plan really takes you through this journey of figuring out the big why, right? The big why, helping you to discover all of those things internally and helping to drive you forward. So the 5 steps, the first one is the power of mind, helping people actually understand what goes on in your brain and how it actually works. Because if we can understand how our brains actually work and why, it's like certain triggers or reactions or the things that are automatic, and then we understand how we can actually change those things, we have a lot more power than we think in terms of, how we can change what we do, how we change our habits, how we can change our outcomes.
There you go. I know some people that just need to start using their brain, just basically. For that matter. I've seen them on social media. Some politicians I can name.
True.
But that aside, having looking at our mindset, some of the beliefs that we have towards food and sugars, and I remember when I lost a lot of weight, I had to reprogram a lot of my belief systems, a lot of my mindsets, and a lot of my thinking. And without doing that, I mean, you can try and eat better and you can try and do the right thing, but if your mind still kind of kicks back to old habits, you're kind of stuck.
Yep.
There you go. And then you have awareness, the power of awareness.
Yep, power of awareness. So this is actually really powerful. I always, with my own personal journey, of course, after my parents went through a divorce, I had several years where I was trying to figure out all of my own crap, right? And the biggest tool and the most powerful thing that I found was awareness. If I could just figure out why I was doing certain things, why I was feeling certain ways, and those details, and I'd be like, oh, it's like, I don't have to do that anymore. Once we start realize what we're doing and why we're doing it, it starts to lose power over us, essentially. And we can start to choose different things once we are aware of what we're doing, why we're doing them. So that's the power of awareness, really digging in and helping ourselves be really aware of what we're doing on a day-to-day basis, why we're doing it, and etc. Right?
A lot of people are stuck in robot mode. I mean, we've all been there. We get a little caught up on everything, and suddenly we wake up. That seems to happen to me a lot. I'm like, hey, it's day 2 of the new month, and then all of a sudden I'm like, wait, the month's over. Where did the month ago?
Yep.
And you're becoming aware of how you think, aware of what you're doing, aware of what you're putting in your mouth. Sometimes we just go. I did that today. I was trying to do my intermittent fasting, and I found a cookie that I bought, and I was like, oh, found cookie. And I'm like, this should really wait till later. And then I'm like, put it in your mouth.
Yep.
And there we go down the wormhole. And
Yep.
so, being aware of like, hey, okay, that seems like a great idea, buddy, but maybe you should save that till later.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely.
Awareness. It's a common problem. And a lot of people, even like if they're binge eaters or emotional eaters, whatever, right? It's like a lot of times we'll eat all of this food in an attempt to like comfort ourselves. And it's like, what the crap did I just do? Sometimes it's like so absent-minded. We don't even realize what we're doing.
That's one of my problems that I used to have. I think I still have a little bit because I just did it, as I mentioned, where sometimes you're just bored. You just go eat something. It's not like that you're really hungry. You're just kind of like, oh, I want to munch on something.
Yeah.
And you're like, I don't know, get a life, dude. Why are you bored? I don't know, man. I mean, quit shoving stuff in your pile just because you're bored and you want something to do. Like, go to the gym and get on a treadmill if you want something to do.
Right.
There you go. And then you talk
that easy.
Exactly. Yeah. Then you talk about the power of self. Tease us out a little bit of that on that.
Yeah, the power of self actually dives into a lot of different aspects of ourselves. The biggest thing that I see with the majority of my clients is self-abandonment. And this can be a bunch of different things, but just to give you a general idea, the majority of the population in a sense abandons themselves. Now when I say this, it's like if we think about how busy we are on a daily basis, we keep ourselves incredibly busy. We're meeting expectations, we're trying to be successful in our careers, we're taking care of our family, we're doing all of these things. But when we're trying to create more time in a day to do all of these things, what always gets put on the back burner?
Yep.
Us.
I not only abandoned myself, I put myself up for adoption.
Yeah. All right. Anybody want me?
Yeah. Just check your local dog shelter. I'm there. And so that's really important. The power of knowledge. Tell us a little bit about that, if you would.
Yeah, power of knowledge dives into a lot, actually. This is where we take all of the physical health stuff and we lump it in. So it's actually the biggest portion of the program where we actually dive into six weeks of really in-depth nutrition education, 6 weeks of mindful eating education to help us, is like, what are my triggers? Why am I eating? Am I hungry? Like, what do I really need? All of that type of stuff to really help people to become an expert, right? Like, I don't want to put people in my program and just be like, okay, follow my strict instructions. And then as soon as I'm gone, you have no clue what to do. I want you to finish my program and be like, okay, like I might fall off a little bit because we're human beings, but I have all of the knowledge now to be empowered to do this for the rest of my life and be healthy and take care of myself.
There you go. There you go. Knowledge is power to the extent that it's used. And so being able to utilize that is important as well. And so that brings us to your 5th step, the power of growth. Now that probably doesn't mean my waistline, right?
No, that would be negative growth that we're working towards there. The power of growth is, so within the power of growth, there's a couple of different things where we really start to dive into getting to know ourselves, but also how do we propel ourselves forward? And how do we find our internal motivation to keep us moving forward? So we start diving into, like, what are my personal strengths and how do I use them to set me up for success? What are my values and my priorities? And am I living my life in line with my priorities? Because the majority of people, like, if you looked at your schedule, like if you gave me a list of like your values or priorities and then you showed me your calendar for a month, they probably wouldn't line up.
They probably wouldn't, yeah.
Right. Yeah. And it's just fascinating that it's like we don't live our lives in line with what we say our values and our priorities are.
My values and priorities is sleep 24/7 and hibernate all the time.
And I'm sure that doesn't line up with what your calendar looks like.
Clearly, I'm just sleeping right now, people. So there you go.
Yeah.
But that's important so that people can have these things. And so you call this your 5-step power plan to whole health transformation, to follow up on that. And
Yep.
it's a 16-week program you help people go through.
Yep.
There you go. And then, of course, you do speaking and coaching and all that stuff. When people are losing weight or they're dealing with being overweight, what are some of your thoughts? I don't know if you want to dig into this, but what are some of the thoughts on some of these new drugs that are coming to market that claim to be able to speed up your thing, like Ozempic, and I think there's a few other ones?
Yeah. And it's a good question, especially because I am a pharmacist,
Yeah,
also a health coach,
I
right?
figured that.
So,
See,
so
saw that
there's
coming.
so I definitely see both sides of those.
Mhm.
Honestly, because I focus so much on long-term results,
Mhm.
I do not recommend doing a medication. Now, if someone is getting on one of those medications because they have diabetes, so they're going to be staying on that medication, that's fine. But if
Yeah.
someone's going on the medication just for weight loss, they can't stay on that drug long term. And
Mhm.
it's not causing them to create a new lifestyle, to learn new habits, to actually learn nutrition and how to eat. So the reality is even if the drug helps you get off some weight, as soon as it's gone, you're going to be right back where you started from.
Yeah,
Really not a long-term solution.
because you'll still be shoving McDonald's hamburgers in your
Exactly.
face and chocolate chip cookies like I did today. And I know how that is. If you don't change like you've outlined in your 5-step power plan, where you change your mindset, your knowledge, your power over yourself, your awareness, you just go right back to your habits. And I think it's probably going to be the same as like a lot of people that, I've had friends that have gone in and got that stomach thing done where they shrink the stomach.
Yep.
Or staples, whatever the hell it is. And they lose a little bit of weight initially, but then they actually end up heavier because they just go back. They're like, I have a smaller stomach, so I'll just keep going to McDonald's and eating, awful crap. And of course, as they age, their metabolism and stuff goes in the toilet. So, yeah, there's all that goes on, and I think a lot of people might end up that way. I know it's helped one of my friends who's, I believe, he's a diabetes 1. He's got the damage to his pancreas or whatever it is.
Okay. Type 1
Or
diabetes then.
Type 1 diabetes. There you go. And so he's loved Ozempic, but it's like I think he's paying like $1,200 a month with insurance and stuff, which is a bit much. That's a lot of money.
It is.
When maybe it's free people not to just shove stuff in your pie hole. Like, doesn't cost anything, but you have to get your brain right. You have to get your mindset right. One thing when I lost 100 pounds is as the rules I had and the belief systems I had and the games that I would play with my head, well, it's only one Mountain Dew, and then, an hour later it's another Mountain Dew. And, you're like, well, I'll go out to eat today and I'll go to McDonald's or whatever. And then you're like, over McDonald's tomorrow, and all these, kind of mental gymnastics people play with their head. Do you find a lot of people struggle with that, or was it just me?
No, it's it's human nature. It's so common.
Mhm.
Very, very common. And so it's just that's why, it's like when I tell people about my program, I don't sugarcoat it. I tell them like this isn't a quick fix. Sorry, if you're looking for a quick fix, I'm not your girl.
Mhm.
Um we do the hard work, right? We do the real work so that if you're paying $1,200 a month for Ozempic, like you could do my program, right? Uh, really easily and have those results for the rest of your life as opposed to just having them for a short period of time and having all of that go away. You're literally flushing money down the toilet.
Yeah. And then you don't have side effects. I think they still don't know the full side effects of some of these newer drugs.
Yep.
And then, it's kind of like teaching, what's that old adage? If you teach a man to fish, if you give a man a fish, he'll eat it. And then if
You
you teach
feed
him
him
to
for a day.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
feed him for a day if you teach him to fish. And that's what I had to learn. And other people that I've seen, you have to really change your whole behaviors.
Yep.
Nowadays, when I go into the store, I go to the grocery center and I go where what we call the live foods, and I stay out of the dead center. where the dead foods are, the frozen foods, the crackers, the pop, all that stuff that's got so much, preservatives and whatever.
Yep.
And you have to change your patterns. You have to change what you put in your cart. You talk about awareness. One of the things I do is I look at my cart, especially when I go to checkout, and I go, okay, what's gotten in here that doesn't need to be here. And
start unpacking.
yeah, you grab the Oreo thing, throw it back out. I mean, come on, dude. Let's be self-aware, and let's be responsible. You don't need that, and of course, stores are notorious. They put all that tasty, sugary, flavorful stuff there when you're checking out. It's like, hey, you want a candy bar? Hey, you want a candy bar? And you're like,
marketing, it's sales.
Yeah, I mean, even the farm that I go to this wonderful farm that's down the block from me, and they have healthy, local grown food. They make these great cookies, which is the one I ate earlier today. And even I go over there, and it's hard to say no to that cookie that's sitting right there. In fact, I should yell at them about that. No, there weren't people. But when it comes to weight loss and stuff, and working with people, what do you find is the healthiest way to lose weight? We've kind of alluded to some of it, I think, but let's clear that up.
Yeah, for sure. So there's a few different things that you can do in terms of weight loss. Let's take a standard person that they're overeating. They're consuming too many calories, right? So this is a pretty straightforward person that wants to lose weight. So for them, essentially what I would do is come up with, number one, a calorie deficit that makes sense for them and their body. So that essentially means that, we're putting them about 500 to 1,000 calories lower than like what their body needs in a day.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, so you're lowering down your calories so that your body can start using the fat that you're storing and start using that as energy and getting rid of it, right? So you have to be in a calorie deficit, but what you don't want to do is you don't want to do what a lot of people do with dieting, and they start to starve themselves. You reduce your calories too significantly, and they're like, oh, I'm losing all of this weight. But what happens is your body goes into starvation mode. And eventually you'll hit a plateau. You won't be able to lose anymore because your body's like, hey, you're making me live on very little food, and I'm going to start holding on to all of this. So it's not, your metabolism is no longer moving at a fast pace. You can't eat as much food. And for someone like that, if they come into my program, I actually have to build their metabolism back up so that then we can drop them into a deficit. So it's really, you don't want to be losing more than 1 to 2 pounds a week.
Oh, really?
2 pounds a week is like the absolute max in terms of like healthy weight loss.
Mm-hmm.
And people usually they're not willing to do it that slow. But that really is healthy weight loss so that your body is not like completely going to basically retaliate against you and make it so that it tries to restore energy back to how you were.
There you go. And people run into insulin resistance as well, is my understanding. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so, if you've been someone like me who's abused your body most of your life, going out to eat and having just a little bit too much good time at those fine restaurants, eating those big steaks and fatty stuff and all that Italian food, and tacos, of course, Mexican food. Can't live without Mexican food. If I could find me a wife who is a Mexican cook and an Italian cook at the same time, I would marry her in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
But the problem is I'd be like 700 pounds.
Yeah.
So there's that. Maybe I should just find a really skinny chick who doesn't cook, and I'll find a vegan chick or something. Maybe that's the way to go. But I eat a lot of vegan now. So, but yeah, it's really healthy. And processed foods. Do you find a lot of your clients are eating a lot of these processed foods, and they've been linked to all sorts of stuff now?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a pretty standard American diet, right? We have so many processed foods available to us. And so it becomes second nature. It's easy. It's quick. We're busy. We want something fast. And so, yeah, that's the majority of what people eat. And what I try to get people to do once they come into my program in terms of weight loss, what we want to do is, number one, we want to get them eating good quality protein. protein is a huge part of like being able to be in a calorie deficit but not be hungry. We don't want you to be hungry during the process of weight loss, because if you're hungry, it's going to be counterproductive. Your body's going to start fighting against you. With cravings and different things like that. So if we can get good quality protein into your diet, fruits and vegetables, and then, your healthy fats, your healthy carbohydrates, get you really to a point where you're eating good quality foods that can keep you full. That's where people are going to experience the most benefit in a weight loss journey, which essentially is just eating healthy.
There you go. Eating healthy makes all the difference. What a concept. Who knew?
Wow.
Looking at those calories that are labels that are on the thing, reading your labels. One of the things I try and do is eat live food. And so I try and stay away from processed stuff as much as I can, and eating live foods, broccoli, cabbage, beets. We try and blend all that up once a day or every other day and eat it. Your body, it's so much different when your body gets what it wants. It really, you get this feeling where your body goes, hey, we really like you these days. We should keep you around. It makes all the difference in how you feel, tuning into how I was feeling in my body, maybe starting to eat better. And sometimes, people think of, well, salads taste awful or, whatever, they're not as fun. Once you reset your palate and you get away from all the sugars and some of that dopamine crap that you're being hit with at places like McDonald's that are chemically designed to give you a dopamine hit, you get off the addiction drug, you really start enjoying foods. And like I buy a lot of my live foods and salads and tomatoes and everything at a local farm here. And you can usually find those places or farmers market anywhere. But I got to tell you, the food, the lettuce, everything I get, it tastes so much better. And it's not some of the stuff that comes from, wherever it comes from in the world. Everything comes from everywhere. And they kind of race it with, sometimes I've heard they use methane stuff on tomatoes to get them to ripen faster so they can sell them faster. It's funny, the produce from my local farm actually lasts for weeks, where if I buy a head of lettuce at the local store, it's dead in a couple
of days.
Yeah. Tomatoes last long. Everything's better. But your body after a while goes, hey man, thanks for taking care of us. We're going to take care of you.
Yep.
And you really start listening and becoming, like you talk about, aware. And it can make all the difference in the world. One thing you do is you talk about misconceptions about weight loss in women and menopause. I know women sometimes have issues with weight loss and they have, more hormones than men. So talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, menopause is a struggle. That's just bottom line. I feel for women that are going through it. It is a struggle. A lot of women will come and they'll say, my hormones are super out of whack. Like I need to go to my doctor and I need to, need to get them figured out. The reality is that when women are premenopausal, like a woman's life, their whole life, they have like hormone cycles that are very, very consistent. And once they become premenopausal, their hormones are literally all over the place. So when they say my hormones are out of whack, I say, yeah, they are. That's just how it is, right? Once you hit menopause, those hormones flatline. And what women struggle with is then, you have the decrease in hormones, decrease in estrogen. Your metabolism starts to slow a little. That's also due to age, though. But it does become more challenging to lose weight. Now, it's not impossible. It is more challenging, though. So if I were to bring someone into my program, someone who's pre-menopause, they could get 2 pounds a week off if they wanted to be, that dedicated. For someone that's in menopause, they come into my program, I could guarantee them probably a half a pound a week. That's more reasonable. But what we have to do with a woman in menopause is actually that we have to get their calorie deficit very specifically aligned with like their body and their metabolism. And that's something that's really hard, challenging to find on your own without, expert guidance.
There you go. And I imagine with your pharmacist background and your medical understanding, you probably have a better dial in than most, wellness coaches or weight loss coaches, because you kind of understand the chemical nature of all this and how to do stuff. Are you able to recommend pharmacy? I don't know how the laws work for local and states and stuff. Are you able to, with your clients, recommend medications to them and prescribe them?
So I don't prescribe medications. One thing that I can do is if someone has a really long list of medications, I'll usually take a look at it. I'll usually look at, are there any interactions that like we're not aware of? So, like you might go to a bunch of different doctors and your doctors are never looking at your full med list and being like, should we change things here? They're just like, okay, you say you have a problem, let's start another medication. So what I do is I'll just kind of look through that and talk to them about their symptoms. I'll go through their medications and see if they're on medications that might be contributing to weight gain and making it so that it's difficult to lose weight. So I will look through people's medications just to make sure that there's nothing that's interfering with what we're trying to accomplish in terms of weight loss and getting them to a healthier place in their life.
There you go. So one of the benefits of working with you is you can kind of do an audit.
Kind of do
an audit and be like, hey man, like you're like, hey Chris, you've probably got that lithium and methadone and what other drugs can I do jokes on? I don't know. I think that's about it. Methadone's for heroin, right? And then lithium's for bipolar disorder or schizophrenia.
Yeah, you're basically a pharmacist.
Well, I just pulled jokes for the thing, but yeah, I'm glad I don't have to deal with any of that. Methadone clinic jokes are always a good callback joke. So there you go. What have we touched on that you help people with and you serve your clients and stuff with that people are struggling that we can entice them to work with you on?
What haven't we discussed?
Yeah. Is there anything we missed in all the stuff you have?
I mean, I honestly, the biggest thing for like people that like when I talk with someone and I describe my program to them, the biggest thing that makes someone like makes it a no-brainer, like I definitely want to work with you, is very much like being stuck in this yo-yo dieting. Like I've tried this, I've tried this, I've tried this, I've tried this, nothing works. I've gained this much weight, I've lost this much weight, I gained it all back, I gained more, done all of these things, and it's like, are you ready to stop doing those?
Yeah.
Because if
the yo-yo dieting is the worst,
then we can do the work, right?
Yeah. Do you find a lot of people are they're doing that yo-yo dieting, or worse, they're doing fad dieting?
Everybody does it.
Do they really?
Everybody does it. I mean, honestly, so this just blew my mind. There's a study that was done in the UK, and they were looking at essentially like how many diets does the average adult try over the course of their lifetime. And what they found in that study, well, do you want to take a guess? How many do you think?
12.
12. Okay. So the study found that the average adult attempts 126 diets over their lifetime.
Holy crap, that's my excuse then. I'll use that.
Isn't that crazy?
That is a lot. And is that like them sometimes retrying and then going on?
It's like you do it for 2 weeks, you stop, you try again, you try something else. It's like once you think about it like that, oh man, you could do 50 in a year. Like
maybe that's what I'll do. I'll just try different diets and just,
different diet, different day.
Roller coaster of diets. I have a friend, God bless him. He comes on the show regularly as an author. He does the Atkins diet, which is, I guess, supposed to be a lot of protein or something. Or no, he does the keto diet.
Like keto, where it's like fat and protein. You avoid carbs.
Yeah, he does the keto diet. And he'll show me like this giant plate of ribs and everything else. He's like, I'm on the keto diet. And I'm like, no, man, you're still eating like 5,000 calories in a plate there, buddy. Well, it's mostly protein. Well, I don't, I understand calorie deficit like you talk about. And I'm like, you're not losing weight, dude. In fact, I saw him the other day and I was like, you got a pot belly going on, man. Yeah. But I'm on the keto diet. I don't think it's what you think it is. But a lot of people are deceived that way, or they, like you talk about with mindset, they're kind of self-cajoling themselves or giving themselves, excuses, really. What's your thinking on cheat days? Speaking of excuses, I've always thought that's interesting when people have cheat days.
Cheat days? what my take on a cheat day is, I mean, I think they're counterproductive, honestly. My approach to help people, like, when I bring someone into my program, I say, okay, nothing is off limits. And the reason that I say that is, like I said before, as soon as we start restricting something, we want that thing. So if we say you absolutely cannot have this, then they're just going to crave it. And once they have it, then they're just, they're going to fall off and they're just going to want that thing. So essentially what I try to help people accomplish is, how do you work your favorite ice cream into your life in a way where you can still lose weight or maintain your weight, right? And there is actually a way to do that. You don't need a cheat day. You can still consume these things on occasion. You consume them in moderation. You would consume them on special occasions, small amounts. But you still can eat those things in small amounts and still fall within your calorie deficit. You could still go out and eat with friends. So we really structure this to help someone learn how to do this the rest of their life. So that you know how, right? You don't need to have a cheat day and basically destroy all of your results. You just need to learn how to do these things in moderation and control them.
There you go. Once I did a thing where I took 2 weeks off of eating candies and everything else, and I mostly ate potatoes. I think it was from the Presto book with Penn Jillette. And it was designed to reset your addiction to sugar and taste.
Okay.
And so once I did that and just ate potatoes for 2 weeks, it reset my taste buds. And then when I came back to start eating salad and broccoli and all these different things, they tasted great. Because I'd cut off my sugar addiction and my dopamine addiction of getting, this food that's like, it makes me high or whatever, with the dopamine hits the brain. And now, one thing I learned was making it taste great without making it, so calorie rich is all the difference.
Yep.
And like I mentioned, the farm that I buy from, the colors on the lettuce and and all the different things, the kale and everything I get is just so much richer. It looks tasty to my brain. My brain goes, hey, that looks tasty,
Yeah.
And then I go look at the lettuce and stuff at the store, and it's like, it looks dead. It's thin. It's some pale color that you're just like, I don't know, is that thing alive? Poke it. And so it just makes all the difference. And there's a lot of ways vegans figure this out. All the different variations of vegan that there is that's out there. These guys figure it out by, if you season stuff right, if you can taste stuff, and you don't have to have McDonald's secret sauce seasoning. If you just have some really good salts or peppers or different simple seasonings, you can make stuff taste amazing. And sometimes better than I think than some of the burgers you eat. And then you don't have that sodium hangover where you're like, oh God, what kind of rock gut do I have now?
Yeah. So, no, 100%. You can make healthy food. You can make healthy food taste really good. But I agree with you that it takes some time for your brain and your taste buds to adjust to the fact that you're not eating a bunch of sugar, right?
Yeah.
It just takes time. You're not going to just switch overnight and be like, yes, I love this.
Yeah. I mean, I used to drink 10 to 15 Mountain Dews a day, and I don't drink Mountain Dew anymore. I might have a Coke every now and then, but I think the other day I had a Mountain Dew. I was waiting at the haircut, and I was like, I'm really going to fall asleep. And so I went next door to Train's restaurant. All they had was Mountain Dew. So I grabbed a Mountain Dew, and it was gross. It was the grossest thing ever. And I remember sitting there going, how did I ever drink all of this crap?
Yeah.
It was so gross.
Yep.
But don't do that, people. Stay away from all that crap. So this has been wonderful and insightful, Whitney, to have you on the show and go through all this wonderful stuff. Give us any final thoughts you want as we go out.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, my final thoughts to people is just ditch the diets. It's like these quick fixes, these fad diets. Like, this stuff doesn't work. It doesn't work long term. You're just gonna mess up your metabolism. So if you're gonna do it right. Do it in a healthy way. Start to change your habits. Start to start to slowly incorporate healthier foods into your diet. Start where you are with exercise. Start slow, right? Even if it's just a 5-minute walk. a couple times a week. Just get yourself moving. Start small and just gradually over time start to change your habits, so that you can actually maintain your results in the end. Because I don't consider it a success if you lose 50 pounds and then you gain it back.
All
It's just
again, yeah.
not. It's not a success.
Yeah, and it just wrecks your body, your health, and everything else, and you screw your metabolism and your insulin resistance, and it just creates a mess for you.
Yeah,
And
you
then
got bigger problems after you mess that stuff up. So
there you go. And as somebody who's 55 years old, I tell this to everybody now: don't wait till you're older, man. It is so hard to calorie correct and insulin correct, and I have to long fast. You can do intermittent fasting on a pretty consistent basis, but I really have to push the long fasting to break through. And it just do it while you're young, man. Do not wait until the very end, or till you're later in life. Because man, I remember when I was 20, man, I could lose weight so quick, and it was like, oh, this is easy, you know. When you're 55, you're just like, I just take one of those carrot shavers and just start shaving fat off. Anyway, thank you very much for coming on the show, Whitney. We really appreciate it. Give us your .coms one more time as we go out.
Yeah, my .com, www.mywholeandhappylife.com, and my Instagram's the same. So at @mywholeandhappylife.
There you go. And thanks to my for tuning in. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, youtube.com/Chris Voss, linkedin.com/Chris Voss. All those crazy places we are on the internet. Thanks for tuning in. Be good to each other. Stay safe, and we'll see you guys next time. And that's